that you're in for a longer process than you probably would have ever thought, and you really do need to pace yourself and be as kind to yourself as you can, and understand a lot of people have been where you are now. That doesn't really make it better, except that just know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and a lot of the people that work for United Policyholders have been where you are. And so, like the gal who's going to be teaching the workshop on the 1st, lost her home in a wildfire and was underinsured, and both she and her husband are lawyers, and they had bought their house not that long before the fire, so it wasn't a situation where the policy was old or something. It was definitely the insurance company's fault, but it was a fight, and it took them, 2 lawyers, quite a while before they were able to get a fair settlement, and it really inspired her to help other people. She got involved with us. She's been a volunteer with us for many years now. Thank you. And she will be coming here to share. She's been teaching wildfire survivors in Colorado for the last year how to get back through the process. We have been doing the same in Colorado, just outside of San Francisco for the past year. We have a lot of resources to offer, and we're honored to be able to make them available to all of you. So, very briefly, where can you go for help if you have a problem? There's, of course, I've told you our website. That's for if you want to follow. We have a lot of good, solid advice. We have articles by experts from all over the country. We have we have 2 Texas publications, your legal rights in Texas, which you have, FAQs about property claims in Texas. Those were written with input from Texas lawyers, policyholder side lawyers who make their living representing people on your side who had a problem. We have a very good relationship with the Office of Public Insurance Counsel here in Texas. We have a lot of friends in the state, and we are looking forward to helping your community. So if you find that the do-it-yourself route ain't cutting it, that's fine. Tony's going to talk about what the state can do for you. A lot of you have heard now, you probably never heard about a public adjuster before. Now it seems like there are quite a few around, and you're on the billboards or around. And just like with any other professional, it's really important to check references. And when I say really important, I cannot emphasize that enough. I'm saying you talk to somebody who that professional has represented, a real person who that person has represented, and make sure that they're happy, that public adjuster actually gave them value. And then that's okay. Then if you want to hire somebody, that's fine. Just make sure that person is licensed. They are licensed by the Department of Insurance. They're regulated. And just make sure they don't become part of the problem, not part of the solution. But that's a perfectly fine way to go, as long as you have really checked that person out, okay? Because as you probably now understand, when you hire a PA, generally it's a percentage fee basis, which makes it affordable, but that means they're going to get a cut of whatever the insurance company pays. So you just have to make, first of all, those fees are negotiable. So you can negotiate those down to the definitely to the single digits, okay? That's one. And 2 is, if you need to get out of it for a reason, then you need to know that you have some rights there. But you're gonna want to make sure that you hire somebody that you're gonna want to work with, so you're not gonna have to get out of it, okay? Lawyers can be helpful down the road, or if you have a real thorny underinsurance problem, you're underinsured by, say, anything $20,000 and above, that very often is going to be a legal issue. We have a whole section on our website for underinsurance help. Okay, I think I've kind of run through the basics, the parts of your policy, the sources of help, what we can do for you. And then in closing, I just want to say that, you know, it is, you got to keep all this in perspective and know that you will get through it. And just take things one day at a time. And, you know, people call it the new normal. And so here you are. And Tony, thank you, and good luck. We're rooting for you, but we're gonna be here with you.
Thank you, Amy. My name is Tony Slagle. I work for a state agency here called the Office of Public Insurance Counsel. We're an independent agency. We're not affiliated with the Department of Insurance, but we're basically we're a state agency set up as a consumer advocate for insurance consumers. And we're, just so you know, we're funded by a 5.7 cent assessment on various policies in the state. That's how we're funded. I'm the homeowners person, basically the residential property person there. The way, just briefly, the way policies work in the state of Texas is their prior approval. Companies have to file their policy, the homeowners policies, they have to file them with the state. The state has to review them. They have to be approved by the department before they can be written. Same thing with any endorsements. We get those in our office, and the office reviews those to see if there's anything detrimental to consumers. We weigh in on those. When in the early 2000s, when the mold issue was going on, we realized that there were more and more at one point there was just one policy written in the state of Texas. There are now multiple policies. So there's a tool on our website where you can go on and compare coverages if you need to do that. But that's just neither here nor there. I just wanted to briefly talk about some things dealing specifically with fire coverage. Most policies in the state, homeowners policies, cover fire and smoke the same way. The coverage is afforded in the policy the same way in the policy, same thing with smoke. There's a law in the state of Texas called the liquidated demand law that if your home is a total loss by fire, if it's determined as a total loss by fire, the company must pay you the amount of your limit of liability, what your house is insured for the dwelling. It doesn't include the additional living expenses, doesn't include the contents, but they must cut you a check for that amount. So if you are a total loss, the company should be going through that process right now. They should be cutting you a check for the amount of insurance at that point. Once again, that doesn't apply to contents. It doesn't apply to additional living expenses. As Amy stressed, it's very important to make sure that you keep your receipts for everything, because that's going to be your way to have a check on what, to show the companies what you're paying for. Any communication you have with the company, I would demand it in writing, anything they tell you. And I know it's nice to be friendly with your agents and your companies, but it's going to just help you along the way if you have a way to show the company said this, particularly if you have to file a complaint with the Department of Insurance, or you have to go to an attorney or have a public adjuster help you out. It's important to have a paper trail that shows how you have, in fact, communicated with the company and how the company has communicated with you. It's important to do that. In terms of what my office can do, we're basically there for a resource. We weigh in on matters that affect a large number of consumers. So individual consumers, while we want to help them, we can help them to a certain extent. In order to deal with individual complaints, you have to go to the Department of Insurance. They have a consumer protection division that will help you personally with your complaint against the insurance company. We still want to hear from people because that points to larger issues in which we can weigh on and possibly have an impact to help consumers throughout the state. And I don't want to discourage anyone from contacting us. We're more than happy to answer any questions, to help you with any problems you might have, and answer any issues or deal with any issues that you might have, direct you to where you need to go out there as well. Trying to think if there's anything else. Just to give you just a couple other things, there are a few policies out there. Well, I said the smoke coverage is pretty much universal. There are some policies out there that will limit smoke damage if it's not reported within a certain time frame after the fire has been extinguished. So you want to make sure you look at your policy and know that. So if, let's say you have 30 days to report, you want to do it within that time frame, where they may cap the amount of money they're going to give you for smoke damage if it's not a total loss. The other thing is that a lot of companies require, if it's not a total loss, if you're going to build they require you to build back in that particular place. It's not a total loss. You need to also look at your policy to see if that's a requirement that you have to build back. You can't, walk away and build someplace else in order to get the replacement cost for the dwelling or for what the damage
You
is.
can't?
That, it's a policy by policy, but there's some where they will require you to build back in that particular spot. You can't just, now liquidated demand, that doesn't apply. If it's total loss, you can walk away from it. But if it's a partial loss, you've got, some policies require you to build in order to get the replacement cost for that. They'll cut you a check for the actual cash value, but they won't replace it. So that's important to know. If, as Amy stressed, if you haven't gotten a copy of your policy, get one and read it. It's your best defense against anything that's gonna, it's gonna happen out there, to know exactly how your coverage is at play and how it affects you, so.
All right. Thank you, Tony. And I'm gonna go quickly through our top 10 tips and then open the floor for questions. Number 1, be proactive in the claim process. Well, you're here, so you're already being proactive. But really by that, we're talking about keeping a diary, which is absolutely essential, so you can remember who said what happened, who you talked to, date, because a lot of you are going to be dealing with multiple adjusters if you haven't already. I think a lot of you already have. And so you want to try to keep things, have a history, so you know where you've been and where you are and where you need to go to reach agreements, right? Because that's always the goal, is reaching agreements. You're not on a level playing field when dealing with an insurance claim. I think you probably all realize that, that suddenly you're in a different kind of a power dynamic with the insurance company. And, people ask us all the time, which is a good insurance company? And there's not really good and bad. It's really the personalities of the people that you deal with at the companies, and some of that is chance. Now, some policies are better than others, that is for sure. The way, the policy contract gives you better, there's more coverage for sure. But as far as, good and evil, we really encourage people not to think that way and to understand that it's really a business negotiation, a big insurance claim like this. And, and people get very upset and angry, and I understand that, you feel like, hey, I gave this company a lot of money for a lot of years, and now I really need them, and they're treating me like I'm trying to cheat them, or they're just not returning my calls. I'm not feeling the love here. That doesn't happen to everybody, and we certainly hope that your insurance claim goes great and that you don't need us. But generally speaking, insurance is big business. When there's a lot of money at stake with a big claim, the insurance company is going to want to see they're going to want to cross a lot of T's and dot a lot of I's. And so the more organized you are, the more likely you're going to get a fair, relatively prompt settlement. Think of your insurance claim as a business negotiation. You're dealing with a for-profit company, so just understand that when we tell you you've got to give them documentation, they want to see that they are paying, they have shareholders, they got to be responsible, they want to make sure that what they're paying is what they should pay or what they have to pay, okay? Give your insurance company a chance to do the right thing, but don't mistake a friendly representative for a friend. That's a pretty important thing to think about. Now, we don't want you to be aggressive, jerks, obviously, because human nature being what it is, you get your adjuster mad at you. It's not helpful. But we also don't want you to be pushovers. So the way we explain it is politely assertive. Okay? So it's how you say it, right? And how much you can do to back it up. And if you do get an adjuster who's really giving you a hard time, by all means request another one. You're absolutely entitled to get a different adjuster if you're just having a hard time. Document and support your claim with proof, details, and estimates. That's so important, especially for the partial losses, to be able to have professional estimates of your roof. More than one is helpful, or the siding, or if partial losses are important because very often the more experienced adjusters will get assigned to the total losses, and then there you are on your partial loss. And the most important thing, if your home has been exposed to extreme heat, is that it get properly and thoroughly inspected to make sure that there's not hidden damage, and that when you get those inspections done, you may have to pay for them, which is kind of irritating, I understand, but it is so important that you can submit to the insurance company the costs bills for the estimates, but if you just sit and wait for them to do the thorough inspection, you may be waiting longer than you should be. So that's where the proactive comes in. It's your home. You want it to be safe and healthy environment for you to be in. So you want to make sure that it's been properly inspected and it's going to be properly repaired. So present clear requests in writing that explain what you need, when you need it, and why you're entitled to it. And again, that's where that documentation comes in. And there were a lot of vendors here today that can help you with those estimates that will give you the documentation, right? Don't pad or exaggerate your claim. Enough said. Don't sign legal documents without consulting with a qualified attorney. Now, people very often get nervous if they get a check. Let's say you're underinsured and you get a check from your insurance company for the dwelling and you know it's not enough to put your house back up. You're thinking, uh-oh, do I take this? Do I send it back? How can I send this back? I need the money. It's a lot of money. What do I do? If the check doesn't have, you read the check carefully and make sure it doesn't have tiny little print saying something like full and final or release or, you know, this constitutes a settlement or anything like that. And to be on the safe side, you should either, if you really want to be safe, you can send it back and say we don't agree. But if you don't want to play that game and you just need the money